There's a scientific fact I learned a few years ago that I haven't been able to forget. It's about the human body, about the very cells that make you. Your skin, your organs, the very tissues that hold your consciousness. They completely replace themselves. Every 7 years, there isn't a single physical part of you that was there 7 years prior. You are literally not the same person you were. You are a collection of entirely new cells, a new physical entity. And yet, you still carry the same old pain. You still feel the weight of a hurt from a decade ago, an embarrassment from high school, a failure from a relationship that ended 2 versions of yourself ago. Your body has had the wisdom to shed its skin, to renew itself completely. But your mind, your spirit, has been clinging to the ghost of a structure that no longer physically exists. That fact haunted me, because it meant the prison wasn't made of bone and flesh. The prison was built in the mind, and I was the one, every single day, who was laying the bricks, reinforcing the walls, and sitting quietly in the dark, waiting for someone to come and turn the key. I was waiting for my life to begin, for the big moment, the promotion, the recognition, the perfect relationship, the external validation that would finally make me feel okay. I was waiting for a sunrise that was happening inside of me the whole time, but I had my back turned to it, staring at a door that would never open. I used to be a curator of other people's opinions. My mind was a crowded, noisy room, and everyone was in it except for me. I would lie in bed at night and replay conversations, not to remember what was said, but to dissect the hidden meanings, the subtle shifts in tone, the potential judgments. I was an archaeologist of my own social ruin, digging through every maybe they meant and what if they think. I was deeply invested in the stock market of public perception, and my emotional state rose and fell with the phantom ticker tape of gossip, arguments, and debates I had no business being in. I thought being aware of everything made me powerful, informed, in control. It just made me exhausted. I was a satellite dish receiving 1,000 signals, all of them noise, and I had lost the frequency of my own voice. The turning point wasn't a loud dramatic event. It was a quiet, profound exhaustion. It was the bone-deep tiredness of carrying a world that wasn't mine. I looked at my reflection one morning, and I didn't see a person. I saw a receptacle for other people's dramas, a sounding board for their complaints, a battlefield for their ego wars. And I quit. I didn't resign from my job or move to a new city. I resigned from the role of audience member in everyone else's play. I simply walked off the stage they had built for me and started building my own world in the quiet space behind my own eyes. I became busy with my own world. It sounds simple, almost childish, but it was the most radical act of my life. The arguments that used to hook me, the political debates, the office gossip, the online fury, I just let them go. It wasn't that I didn't care about justice or truth anymore. It was that I realized most arguments aren't about truth. They are ego wars. 2 people, or 2,000 people, screaming their identities at each other. Not to learn, but to win. To prove a point that was never really about the point, but about their own sense of worth. Proving yourself is wasted energy. You cannot convince someone of your value. They will either see it or they won't, and your frantic efforts to make them see it only obscures the very value you're trying to prove. So I stopped. I unplugged from the collective noise and plugged into my own direction. I became focused on my craft, on the slow, patient progress of getting better at something that mattered to me. I became obsessed with my own growth, not as a concept, but as a daily practice. Reading a book that expanded my mind instead of scrolling through comments that shrank it. Spending an hour working on a skill instead of spending that hour crafting the perfect, cutting rebuttal to someone online who would forget it in 5 minutes. The world didn't change. The arguments still raged. The gossip still swirled. The pressure to perform and impress was still there, a constant hum in the background. But I had changed. I had built a sanctuary within myself, and the noise was now outside the walls. I was inside, working, growing, breathing. The chaos was no longer my home. And then, a strange thing started to happen. People noticed. A coworker, someone I'd known for years, pulled me aside. "Hey," he said, leaning in with a curious smile. "Something good happen? You got a promotion? Met someone? You just seem lighter." I was taken aback. I racked my brain. No, nothing special had happened. There was no external cause for this shift. I hadn't won the lottery or fallen in love. I was just me, but a me that was more present, less frantic, less eager to please. A me that was no longer bracing for impact. I was experiencing this fledgling, fragile inner peace, and they were seeing the outer effect. They were seeing the absence of the weight I had been carrying for so long. They were seeing the quiet confidence that comes from no longer seeking permission to exist. Your peace has a silhouette. It casts a shadow that others can see long before you can fully feel its warmth yourself. They see the unclenching of your jaw, the softening around your eyes, the ease in your posture that used to be so rigid, so defensive. They are seeing a person who is no longer at war with themselves. And that, in our perpetually anxious world, is a startling and beautiful thing to witness. My mood began to untangle itself from the hooks of the external world. For most of my life, my emotional state was a puppet, and the world held all the strings. A compliment would send me soaring. A criticism would send me into a tailspin. A pay raise meant I was valuable. A quiet social media feed meant I was forgotten. My happiness was dependent on money, attention, entertainment, validation, approval, drama, events. It was a precarious way to live, a constant roller coaster designed by someone else. I had to cut the strings, one by one. It was a conscious, deliberate process. I started to generate my own good mood from what seemed like nothing. From the simple, profound act of gratitude. Not a forced, journal entry gratitude, but a real, visceral feeling of thanks for the warm coffee in my mug, for the sun on my skin, for the simple miracle of a functioning body. My mood came from the quiet, from the space between thoughts where I could just hey-bay. It came from the quiet hum of progress, from looking back over a month and seeing not a dramatic transformation, but a slight, consistent upward trajectory. It came from self-respect, from keeping the small promises I made to myself, to go for that walk, to put down the phone, to eat the food that nourished me. It came from staying present, from refusing to let my mind time travel to past regrets or future anxieties. This is emotional independence. It's the realization that you are the source. You are the well. You don't need to go begging for emotional scraps from a world that is often just as hungry and lost as you are. You can generate your own light, and that light is not dependent on the sun or the moon or the approval of others. It is your own inner sun, and it rises without fail when you choose to fuel it. A huge part of this was letting go of the need to debate. I used to think intelligence was synonymous with argumentation. That to be smart was to be able to dismantle another person's position, to have the sharper wit, the more devastating fact. I was a verbal swordsman, always ready for a duel. But I grew tired, so deeply tired. I realized that in all those years of debating, I had never once changed someone's mind. Not truly, and they had never changed mine. We were just two people, standing on opposite sides of a canyon, shouting our own echoes at each other. Nobody listens to understand in an argument. They listen to reload. They are formulating their next point while you are still speaking. Their eyes glazed over with the need to be right. Proving yourself is a fool's errand. Silence, I discovered, is not weakness. It is a higher level of confidence. It is the profound strength of knowing who you are, so deeply and so completely, that you no longer require the chorus of external agreement. You don't need to win the argument because you are no longer fighting the war. You have laid down your weapons and walked off the battlefield. I stopped debating, not because I lost the ability, not because I was defeated, but because I outgrew it. It was a game for a version of me that was younger, more insecure, and desperately needed to see his reflection in the eyes of a conquered opponent. The new me doesn't need that reflection. He knows his own shape. This entire shift culminates in one singular, life-altering skill: the ability to live in the present. You stop living in the museum of your past mistakes, endlessly polishing the trophies of your failures. You stop living in the haunted house of your future fears, worrying about monsters that haven't even taken form. You stop living in the rental property of other people's expectations, trying to keep the place clean for landlords who don't even live there. You let it all go. You live in your moment. You are right here. You are doing your work, fully immersed in the flow of it. You are enjoying your day, the taste of your lunch, the feeling of the breeze, the sound of the rain. You find yourself singing a little while you wash the dishes. You find yourself dancing a little to a song in your head while you walk down the street. Life feels lighter, not because the burdens of life have disappeared, but because you have stopped carrying things that don't belong to you. You have put down the heavy suitcases of other people's opinions. You have shrugged off the lead coat of your past regrets. This feeling, this profound, unshakable peace, is what people search for in 2-week vacations and in therapy sessions. It's what they try to buy, to drink, to travel towards. And you found it not on a beach in Bali, not on a therapist's couch, but in the quiet real estate of your own mindset. You simply came home to yourself. This is what growth feels like. We are sold a lie about transformation. We think it's loud. We think it looks like fire and drama and monumental, visible shifts. We think it's announcing your new life on social media, moving to a new city, getting a new job. But real growth is quiet. It happens in the silent spaces between your thoughts. It looks like smiling for no reason at all in the middle of a Tuesday. It looks like caring less about the noise and the chatter and the endless draining circus of modern life. It's focusing on what matters with a laser-like intensity. Not because you have to, but because you want to. It's feeling good quietly, a warm, steady hum of contentment that doesn't need to be performed or validated. It's needing less from others, less approval, less attention, less constant reassurance. And most beautifully, it's liking who you're becoming. Not who you've arrived as, but who you are, in this very moment, on the way to becoming. This quiet confidence, this peace that comes from within, is the real transformation. It's not a new you, it's the real you, finally emerging from the layers of fear and conditioning, like a sculpture revealed from a block of stone. Most people wait for life to get better. They wait for the circumstances to align, for the stars to grant them permission, for the external world to finally match the picture in their head. They are waiting at the station for a train that was never coming. But the truth, the simple, brutal, beautiful truth, is this: your life gets better the moment you get better. Not when your bank account gets better, not when your relationship status gets better, not when your job title gets better. It gets better the moment you decide to show up for yourself. The moment you choose your own peace over winning an argument. The moment you choose your own growth over mindless distraction. The moment you choose your own quiet joy over the frantic pursuit of external validation. That change starts inside, in the dark, fertile soil of your own spirit. Long before anyone else sees the bloom. It starts with a single quiet decision to stop living in the world they built for you, and to start building your own. So keep going. On the days it feels hard, on the days the old noises try to call you back, on the days you feel the pull of the old dramas, just keep going. Tend to your own world. Water your own garden. Protect your peace with a fierce, quiet determination. This isn't a destination you arrive at. It's a path you walk every single day. And the most beautiful part is that the path is right here, right under your feet. You don't have to go anywhere to find it. You just have to decide to stop waiting and to start walking.